G'day everyone, Chad Bailey here, just giving a quick market wrap up of our third leg of our Weaner sales on behalf of Colin Saying Company, AWN Squires and Nutrient Boltons that was conducted yesterday over there at IRLX. Just on 6,000 calves, 3,300 steers, 2,700 heifers. In what you say, once again, lovely quality yarding of weaners, both the New England and, north, central, northwest. Some very good black cattle, some very good Euro cattle. But what I would say is we started to see the runs of, lighter calves coming through, a lot of cattle, sub 200 kilos as well. So, they're really starting to show the signs or the effects of the season. But once again, what a fantastic result, especially the weighted cattle are very well sought after and really weren't affected on the steer side at all. The lead calves are north of 320 kilos out to 556 cents, but most sales 535 to 545 or 50. 280 to 320 kilo, black calves once again well sought after from the lot feeders and or backgrounders to go into those systems, and they've traded from $5 to $5.50. Most sales $5.40 to $5.50, but as I said, if they're a little bit inferior quality wise, they got back to $5 very quickly. Would say majority of the yarding, both steer and heifer, were 200 to 280 kilos. Now an Angus steer, 480 to 540 cents. The better end of the black calves were 520 to 540. Secondary, $5. But if you were a little bit inferior with a little bit of black ball, or a little bit of navel, boss content, you're 470 and 80 very, very quickly. The lightweight calves, Angus calves, got out to $5. But as I said, these lighter calves are getting very, very hard to place, and I'll allude to that here in a minute with the Angus cross and the Euro and British calves. Black bally calves to the lot feeders north of 300 kilos out to 490 cents. Majority of the sale, the cattle was sort of 260 to 300 kilos in those black ballies, and they've made from 450 to 480 cents consistently. Euro calves, some real good Euro cattle, Pan Chalet cross, with weight, 330 or 40 or 50 kilos actually, out to 472 cents. But most cattle in that 280 plus kilo bracket to 300. And they traded very, very solidly, $5 to $5.20, and well sought after by some renowned feedlot action from the north. But as I alluded to, British cattle, if they were typey, they were okay. But once again, if you're secondary or those lighter cattle, you come under $4 very quickly, and a lot of cattle trading between $3.30 or 40 and $3.60 or 70 cents. So there is shopping there, but it just goes to show that these lighter cattle are harder to place. Heifer-wise, did cop a correction, but not as bad as we first thought. Very few cattle north of 320 kilos, and they got to 398 cents. But most of the lead of the black heifers, 280 to 300 kilos, 370 to a top of 418 cents. Most sales 380 to 390, and similar story with the main run, 200 to 280 kilos, anywhere from 360 to 410. Most sales 375 or 80 to 390 cents. I would suggest that 90%, if not more, of the heifer yarding went into southern New South Wales, bottom end of Victoria and South Australia. So we must thank those southerners, for their support. The Euro heifers, $3.90 to $4, and they all had weight, 250 and 60 kilos out to 310 or 20 kilos. So they were well sought after. And same with the British cattle. If the British cattle were typey and had weight, they were 360 to 370 or 80 cents consistently. But a lot of these secondary and lighter heifers under $3 down to low as 260 and 70 cents, out to 310 or 20. So I suppose the key to it all, the weight's very well sought after. The lighter, inferior cattle are getting harder to place. But anyway, on behalf of ourselves, Colin Saying Company, AWN Squires and Nutrient Boltons, we can't be any happier and pleased with, once again, the support. We thank all our vendors for entrusting us once again. That's our third leg. Our fourth sale will be coming up at the end of April. No doubt there'll be plenty of numbers once again if it doesn't rain. That's enough from me this afternoon. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you.